Her red BMW blocked my garage door for the seventh time in 2 weeks, so I decided to make it disappear forever. Emma slammed her car door shut, rain pelting her scrubs as she stared at the sleek red BMW parked directly in front of her garage. Again. Her 12-hour shift at the ER had left her with throbbing feet, an aching back, and exactly zero patience for this nonsense. The BMW belonged to Vanessa, her neighbor from 2 doors down, former model, current nightmare. Emma's dinner, now cold Chinese takeout, sat forgotten on her passenger seat as rain soaked through her clothes. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't an emergency. This was Vanessa's 7th time blocking her garage in 14 days. Emma's phone showed 11:42 p.m. Her fingers trembled with exhaustion and rage as she marched through puddles to Vanessa's perfectly landscaped home. She pounded on the door hard enough to rattle the decorative wreath. 30 seconds later, Vanessa appeared, champagne flute in one hand, face mask glistening on her skin. "Oh, it's you. Your car is blocking my garage again." Emma pointed to the BMW. Vanessa sipped her champagne. "I had some packages delivered, heavy ones. I'll move it tomorrow morning." "No, you'll move it now." Vanessa laughed. "Emma, sweetie, it's pouring rain and I've already done my skincare routine. I'm not going anywhere tonight." Emma's pulse pounded in her temples. "I need to park in my garage. Move your car." "It's not like you own the street." Vanessa's tone sharpened. "God, what's the big deal? It's just one night." "The big deal is, this is the 7th time. The big deal is I've asked you repeatedly to stop. The big deal is I've worked 12 hours saving lives while you've been doing face masks and drinking champagne." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "Fine, but next time try asking nicely instead of acting like a psycho." Emma stood in the downpour, watching as Vanessa dramatically retrieved her keys, slipped on designer rain boots, and sauntered to her car at the pace of an arthritic turtle. She moved the BMW just enough for Emma to squeeze through, half blocking the driveway still, before flashing a saccharine smile and disappearing back inside. Emma's hands shook as she parked. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The next morning proved exactly how not over it was. Emma's alarm woke her at 6 a.m. for her shift. She stumbled to her kitchen, desperate for coffee, and glanced out her window. The red BMW was back, and behind it, a white Range Rover, both completely blocking her garage. Her coffee mug cracked as she slammed it down. This was deliberate. A message. Emma stormed over, still in her pajamas, and pounded on Vanessa's door. No answer, just music playing inside and the distant sound of laughter. She called the police. The officer who arrived looked between the cars and Emma's garage, then shrugged. "Sorry, ma'am, since it's not blocking a public road, there's not much we can do. Have you tried talking to your neighbor?" "Multiple times," Emma said through clenched teeth. "You could have the vehicles towed," he suggested. Emma called a towing company immediately. As the truck arrived, Vanessa materialized, wearing yoga clothes that had never seen a yoga studio. "Are you seriously towing my car?" Vanessa's voice carried down the street. "You're blocking my garage, Vanessa. I can't get to work." "Relax. I was literally about to move it after my smoothie." The tow truck driver looked uncomfortable. "Look, if she moves it now, it'll save you the towing fee." Emma swallowed her rage. "Move it, Vanessa. Now." With a triumphant smirk, Vanessa took her time getting into the BMW, checking her makeup in the mirror, adjusting her seat before finally backing away at a glacial pace. The Range Rover, belonging to Vanessa's equally insufferable friend, followed. Emma went back inside knowing this wasn't a victory. She needed to outthink Vanessa. That evening, she installed a security camera pointed directly at her driveway and garage. Evidence for next time. But next time came sooner than expected. When Emma returned home from her shift the following evening, she found something worse than cars blocking her garage. Vanessa's red BMW was parked inside it. Somehow, Vanessa had gotten into her locked garage and parked there like she owned it. Emma's vision tunneled. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She marched straight to Vanessa's house and didn't knock. She pounded with both fists. Vanessa opened the door mid-pedicure. "Oh, hey, Emma. Your car is in my garage." Each word emerged like a separate sentence. Vanessa shrugged. "Yeah, so? You weren't using it during your shift." "That is not how property works." "Well, if you're so upset, call the cops." Vanessa's smile was vicious. "Oh, wait. They won't do anything because it's a civil matter. Guess you're stuck with me." Emma stepped back, forcing her brain to cool down. Vanessa was right. The police wouldn't help, and towing services couldn't legally remove cars from inside private garages. Vanessa had found the perfect loophole. She thought she was untouchable. She had no idea who she was dealing with. As Emma walked home, a plan began forming in her mind. The kind of plan that would ensure Vanessa never parked anywhere near her property again. Emma sat at her kitchen table, fingers drumming against the wood as she searched through page after page of local ordinances. Her eyes burned from exhaustion, but determination kept her going. Somewhere in this legal maze had to be a solution. 3 cups of coffee later, she found it. A city regulation about abandoned vehicles on private property. If a car remained on someone's property without permission for more than 48 hours, it could be legally classified as abandoned. From there, the property owner had options. Emma smiled for the first time in days. She had her loophole. She needed an accomplice, someone who knew the system and wouldn't ask too many questions. Her mind went to Rick, a guy who ran the scrapyard just outside town. They'd met when Emma needed parts for her old Corolla last year. She dialed his number, heart racing as she explained her situation. Rick's laugh boomed through the phone. "Let me get this straight. Your neighbor keeps parking in your garage, and you want to teach her a lesson?" "Not just a lesson," Emma said, a permanent solution. "What you're suggesting is walking the line. But legal, right?" A pause. "With the right paperwork, yes, technically." Emma leaned forward. "Tell me what you need." Rick explained the process. If Emma could document that the car had been left on her property without permission and could provide proof of formal requests for removal, he could legally acquire it. Not steal it. Acquire it. That night, Emma created official-looking notices on her computer. Warning of vehicle removal. Citing city codes. Setting a 48-hour deadline. She printed 3 copies, documenting each with time-stamped photos as she taped them to Vanessa's door, windshield, and sent one by certified mail. Vanessa, predictably, ignored them all. For 2 days, the red BMW sat in Emma's garage, unmoved. Emma's security camera recorded everything: the notice delivery, the passage of time, Vanessa's brief visit to retrieve something from the car, but notably not moving it. On the morning of the 3rd day, Emma called Rick. The tow truck arrived at 5 a.m. when the street was still dark and quiet. Emma watched from her window as they carefully opened her garage, hooked up the BMW, and pulled it away like they were removing a tumor. She felt lighter with each foot the car moved from her property. "Where are you taking it?" she asked Rick as he filled out paperwork. "Storage facility first, then, if unclaimed after the legal waiting period, to my yard." Emma nodded, signing where indicated. This wasn't theft, this was procedure. She had barely poured her morning coffee when the scream came from outside. Emma took her time walking to the window. Vanessa stood in her driveway, still in silk pajamas, staring at the empty garage with the look of someone who'd seen a ghost. Emma sipped her coffee, watching the show unfold. Vanessa stormed to Emma's door, pounding with both fists. "Where is my car?" Emma opened the door calmly. "Good morning, Vanessa." "My BMW. What did you do with it?" Vanessa's face was blotchy with rage. Emma held up one of the removal notices. Your vehicle was left on my property without permission for over 48 hours. Despite multiple notices, you failed to remove it, so the city did. The city? You're lying. Check your mail and your windshield and your front door. Notices were delivered in triplicate. Vanessa's mouth opened and closed like a goldfish gasping for air. I'm calling the police. Feel free, Emma smiled. I have all the documentation right here. 20 minutes later, 2 officers stood in Emma's living room reviewing the paperwork. Vanessa paced behind them, furiously scrolling through her phone for legal help. Ma'am, one officer said to Vanessa, it appears the vehicle was removed according to City Ordinance 15.87.3 regarding abandoned property. It wasn't abandoned. I was using it. Parking in someone else's garage without permission is trespassing, the officer explained. The notices gave you 48 hours to remove it. You didn't. This is insane. Where's my car now? The second officer sighed. You'll need to contact the city impound. There will be fees. What the officers didn't know, what Vanessa didn't know, was that the car wasn't at any city impound. It was at Rick's private facility, registered under a different jurisdiction's paperwork. After the police left, Vanessa jabbed a finger at Emma's face. This isn't over. I'll get my car back, and then you'll be sorry. Emma crossed her arms. Good luck with that. As Vanessa stormed away to make calls, Emma knew the real show was just beginning. Phase 1 was complete. The car was gone. Now came the part where Vanessa would discover exactly how permanent gone could be. Vanessa spent the next 3 days in a frenzy. Emma watched from her window as the woman made call after call, pacing her driveway with wild gestures. She visited the police station twice, called 3 different towing companies, even hired a lawyer who specialized in property disputes. None of it helped. Every city impound lot had the same answer. No record of a red BMW being towed from that address. The police report led nowhere since the towing had been private, not initiated by law enforcement. The lawyer found himself chasing paperwork that seemed to exist in a bureaucratic black hole. On day 4, Emma's doorbell rang. She opened it to find Vanessa looking different, disheveled, exhausted, mascara smudged under her eyes. Please, Vanessa said, her voice hoarse. Just tell me where my car is. I'll pay whatever it costs. Emma leaned against the doorframe. I told you. It was towed as an abandoned vehicle. But no impound lot has it. It's like it vanished. Tears welled in Vanessa's eyes. That car cost me $85,000. I still owe payments on it. For a brief moment, Emma felt a pang of sympathy. Then she remembered the 12-hour shifts, the rain-soaked nights, the smug smiles, the utter disrespect. Maybe try Rick's salvage yard, Emma said casually. Sometimes unclaimed vehicles end up there. Hope flashed across Vanessa's face as she hurried to her friend's Range Rover, parked legally across the street. Emma's phone rang an hour later. It was Rick, laughing so hard he could barely speak. She just left, he wheezed. You should have seen her face when I showed her the paperwork. What happened? Well, according to the documents, which are all perfectly legal, by the way, her car was classified as abandoned, sent to my lot, and when unclaimed after the mandatory waiting period, processed. Processed? Dismantled. The engine's already been sold to a guy in Phoenix. The transmission's going to Nevada tomorrow. The rest is being parted out as we speak. Emma sat down hard on her couch. She had expected the car to be held somewhere, requiring Vanessa to pay hefty fees to recover it. Not this, not irreversible. Is that legal? She whispered. With the paperwork you provided and the documentation I have? Absolutely. She abandoned property, ignored official notices, and exceeded the recovery time frame. Her car now belongs to history. Emma hung up, a mixture of horror and satisfaction swirling in her stomach. She hadn't intended things to go quite this far, but there was a certain poetic justice to it all. The next morning, Vanessa was waiting by Emma's car as she left for work. You had my car destroyed." Her voice was eerily calm. Emma met her gaze. "I had an abandoned vehicle on my property removed according to legal procedures. What happened after that was out of my hands. Do you have any idea what you've done? That car was the last thing my father bought me before he died." A flash of guilt shot through Emma, quickly replaced by resolve. "And my garage is the last thing my grandfather built before he died. You didn't seem to care about that when you kept violating it." Vanessa's face hardened. "This neighborhood isn't big enough for both of us." I couldn't agree more. 2 weeks later, a moving truck appeared outside Vanessa's house. Emma watched from her kitchen window as movers carried furniture, artwork, and designer clothes into the truck. Vanessa supervised, occasionally glancing toward Emma's house with a cold stare. As the last box was loaded, Vanessa walked across the street. Emma opened her door before she could knock. "I'm leaving," Vanessa said. "Bought a condo downtown." "Good for you. I want you to know something. What you did, having my car destroyed, it was cruel. Excessive. You could have just had it towed to a regular impound lot." Emma crossed her arms. "And you could have just not parked in my garage, repeatedly, after multiple warnings." They stood in silence, two women who had pushed each other to extremes. Finally, Vanessa spoke. "I hope you never have someone do to you what you did to me. And I hope you learn to respect other people's property." After Vanessa left, Emma's neighborhood felt different, quieter, more peaceful. The other neighbors, who had watched the feud with a mixture of horror and fascination, gave her a wider berth now. No one dared park anywhere near her driveway. A month later, Emma received a letter from Rick. Inside was a small piece of red metal polished to a shine, a BMW emblem attached to a keychain. The note read, "A souvenir from the battle. Victory has never looked so shiny." Emma hung it on her key rack, a reminder that sometimes the only way to deal with someone who repeatedly crosses your boundaries is to remove their ability to do so, permanently. She never had anyone park in her garage again. If you enjoyed this story of justice served, hit the subscribe button right now and give this video a like. Have you ever had a neighbor who just wouldn't respect your boundaries? What did you do about it? Let us know in the comments below.